suggestions?
So I was going to say, I just forgot its title, but the one from Viktor Frankl that I absolutely love. He was a psychiatrist, just so you guys know, who lived through the Holocaust, and it's a really interesting book. And then I would also say, especially like right now, if you were to read the book, How to Win Friends and Influence People, it's like a totally old school classic. But it is still one of the best books on human relations and how to get people to like you, but like genuinely do it. It's not just like a bag of tricks that you learn how to like trick people into thinking you're good. Like it's an excellent read. It's fun. And most people become a better person by reading it. So
nice. I have two recommendations. If you're going into a surgical specialty, I just started this one, but it was recommended to me by several different attendings. It's called Under the Knife. It's just the history of different surgical procedures in a very enlightening kind of way, of just to see how far we've come in surgery. So that's a great one. And then I was cautious about mentioning this one or not, but I thought it was such a great book that I have to mention it, but it's called You're a Badass. And that's the title, but it really was enlightening. Just that reminder of just be proud of yourself, be proud of how far you've come. And like you mentioned in your question about being a cynical robot, I feel like when you are reaching that point, when you're noticing that in yourself, or if someone's telling you that of, hey, you're just going through the motions, take a moment to find the joy in what you're doing again, whether that's going to a conference, taking a vacation day if you can, looking forward to the next vacation if you can, or as my mentor once said, just go back and read your letter of intent of when you went to medical school. Why did you even want to go to medical school? Because that's how you felt in that motion when you were so excited to go to medical school. Go back and put yourself back in that moment of why you did that. So I don't see any more particular questions at the moment. Please feel free to send some more questions. Sarah, yours came across as a slash, so I don't know if you were asking a question there or not.
And then I'll ask,
Go ahead.
I was going to piggyback off of something Jordan said that I think is really important for intern year. Jordan talked about the book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. Jordan is absolutely correct. This goes from very quickly from being, I need to work hard to get good grades, to get good test scores to get into residency, to very, very quickly being, I need to work with a whole diverse team of people that is going to, and our success is only going to depend on all of us succeeding. So most particularly, I think there's always the nurses get a little, they'll either love you or they hate you during the first week. And if you go in there and pretend like you know more than a nurse who's been there for 30 or 40 years, you are going to be in a lot of trouble. But if you work with them, if you ask them their opinion on things, if you are confident yet humble, and if you are able to make those relationships with the nurses, they are going to save your life more times during intern year than you can ever imagine. And if you enter intern year and treat the nurses or the respiratory therapists or even the PCAs, if you treat them poorly, they are not going to have your back, and you are going to be crashing and burning a whole lot. It is so important to work with all of the nurses, rely on their expertise, but also rely on your medical training, work with them, not above them, and it will make your intern year a million times easier. I could promise you that. I think about like intern year when it's like the senior had beat me rounding a few patients, and the nurse was like, once I knew to make friends with them, they were kind of like, oh, I think I heard the senior resident telling the patient this, and then you kind of get the answers of what you need to propose as a plan during rounds. And if you don't treat them right, they're not going to do those things for you. So it's super important you do that. Which kind of goes into my last piece of advice, and that is that intern year is all about your attitude. I mean, I know a lot of people are very afraid about having the last year off for COVID, but I could tell you this, if you have a good attitude, you're going to be just fine. And if you are willing to learn, and if you're willing to take advice, and if you seem teachable, then you're going to have a much better year. If you go in and you either act, if some people come in very, very, very confident. And not that that's a bad thing all the time, but also remember it's good to be, to trust in your medical knowledge, but also to have a very good attitude. Remember that your senior residents are there, they have more experience than you, they're going to be helping you, they want you to succeed. And so really being part of the team with them is going to be really, really important.
Thank you, Dan. I appreciate that comments. And I think that's a good point to emphasize, is just how much COVID has affected not only your training as fourth years, but just all of medical education across the spectrum. We have all felt it in our own ways. So we understand your fears and concerns of that, but we are also confident that it is not going to be detrimental to your entire career for the rest of your life. So keep in mind that becoming a doctor and becoming an intern, you are stepping into the system of healthcare. You have been a part of it as a medical student, but now you are going to learn what really being in healthcare is about. And as Dan mentioned, that's working with nursing, with respiratory therapists, with phlebotomists, with people of different specialties, the multidisciplinary team that it takes to take care of patients and to run a hospital and to run outpatient medicine and care, your caseworkers, your office staff, your office managers. It is way more than just trying to succeed and trying to get to the next step. So make sure to be humble, as Dan said. Don't step on anyone else, because you are not going to step very far if you're just stepping on others. So thank you for that humbling note. There was one other quick question that I think we've alluded to a little bit. We'll maybe touch base on it here shortly, and then I'd like to just kind of wrap things up with everyone giving a couple more pieces of advice if you can. So Asia, you said, are there any essentials for inpatient medicine during intern year? I think it's important, depending on what specialty you've matched to, just have your basic exam skills down, making sure that you know, if you're going into inpatient medicine and need to be able to read EKGs, that you're familiar with that process, that terminology, just the basics. If you're going to OBGYN, making sure you remember your fetal monitoring aspects, reading up on lab values. I think that's something that we get taught very briefly, depending on what school you went to, as far as what is normal sodium and what is, and not necessarily memorizing the numbers, because that's going to change depending on what lab you're in, but just learning basic skills of, you know, thinking about labs, your physical exam skills, taking a history. We all learn that and it gets grilled into us, but how do I make it more efficient? How can I make sure that I'm doing this in an efficient way? But again, that's keeping it broad. Make sure to reach out to your co-residents, trying to figure out, and I did this for each rotation I went on. I talked to my seniors and I said, hey, I'm going on MFM next month. What do I need to know for that? Or I'm going on SICU next month. What do I need to do for that? What do I need to learn for that? So take it one step at a time. Andrea, do you mind giving us just one or two more sentences of advice from you, and then we'll go around and wrap it up for tonight.
Sure. What I was thinking about when Jordan was talking about imposter syndrome was, like, I mean, it's from psychiatry. So like when I'm thinking about like dialectical behavioral therapy, when you are able to sit with two conflicting statements, and instead of making them but and making them contradictory, changing it into and. So like, I made this mistake and I'm going to learn from it. Like reframing what happens as not as a reflection of who you are as a person, but as a like, and I'm going to learn from it. So that's what was coming to my mind when I was thinking about that. So that's what I would.
I love it.
These are my last bits.
And I hope this, for everyone's on tonight, I hope this is just uplifting for you. That is, like I said, where you are in matching, you know, watching a couple of us here tonight that are at the end of residency, and just how you will get through it for sure. Jordan, what is your wrap up piece of advice for everyone?
So one's advice, one's an announcement. So the advice first is one thing that while Catherine was talking that I thought of is she suggested reaching out to like your uppers or your chiefs or something. I would absolutely recommend doing that. And I would ask, so like for us on some of our harder rotations, so cards, heme, inpatient heme, and liver, which is rough. We have over the years gifted each other these cheat sheets that we kind of build on themselves. And so it's like, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 pages for each of those rotations. Those would be gold to study, because those are just the straight juice, the stuff that really matters, tried and true, and it's from your program too, so it probably says the right people's names or whatever. So anyway, I think asking for those cheat sheets, whatever they may be, is probably a solid plan. The announcement is that my nephew's okay. Uncle Les actually watched a YouTube video and fixed it himself. So
good.
I told them to take him to the emergency room so that he could get some ketamine, but his dad's in the military, so I think he was just like, just put on your big boy pants, boy, because here it comes. So anyway.
So good to hear, Jordan. Thank you.
Yes. Not all heroes wear capes.
There you go. Dan, I know you gave a couple of highlights from yourself, but anything else you'd like to add tonight?
I don't think so. I think just like I said, don't be scared. You know, everyone's nervous going into their intern year, whether they are entering at the tail end of the pandemic or not. And like I said, attitude is everything. Just remember that when you're working with others during your first few weeks.
Very nice. So Lauren, thank you for joining us. This webinar was recorded and it will be available later on. Alenta, do you want to put will the link for that be made available, or I'm assuming it'll be on AOGME's?
Yes, it will. And I'll put the link in the chat so everybody can access it. Thank you.
Perfect. We appreciate everyone's participation tonight. Thank you so much, panelists. It's been a pleasure, as always, to speak with all of you. I am hopeful that this has been helpful no matter what specialty you've chosen to go into. And one other point that we haven't mentioned is if you decide early on that you have matched into the wrong specialty or the wrong program, that's perfectly okay. Please make sure to reach out to those around you and decide what's best for you long term. So this is just your next step in the road towards being a healthcare provider and a doctor. And I just want to summarize again, thinking of this in kind of 2 sections of please enjoy the time that you have right now. You have matched. And if anyone's listening on this and haven't matched yet, keep working on it. Keep working towards that goal and that dream. But I cannot congratulate you enough for this huge accomplishment. I think we miss that so much in our lives. We miss those big moments that we've been dreaming about and hoping for. So congratulate yourselves. Get yourself some reward today of some sorts. Just to remind yourself that you have done this. And so as you continue to move forward in your careers and you get into that awesome intern year, remind yourself that you will get through it, no matter how hard the day is, how long or what a struggle it is, whether you make 10 mistakes or 2. Each day is going to build upon itself, and you will not become the attending physician that you want to become without intern year. So encourage yourselves to keep getting through it. Please reach out to those around us. We've talked about burnout, but we have not talked about the realities that physicians still take their lives daily. It's very important to remember that we are human and that we need to be there for each other, and reach out to each other when we're struggling, reach out to each other when we need help. And so please make sure that you're not doing anything alone. If you're struggling, if you're happy or excited, share that with someone else, and that way you will not have to go through life alone. So thank you again for joining us tonight. We hope that it was good advice for all of you. We look forward to more webinars to come from the RFC. And if I can put in one more plug, make sure to join the RFC, because we'd love to have all of you join us next year and this upcoming year for sure. So thank you so much to our tech team tonight. Shameen, Alinta, thank you for joining us as well. And we hope everyone has a wonderful evening. So bye.